Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to this week's Q&A. It is a lot warmer in New York this week, so I'm back to a t-shirt, and I'm wearing one that Wes from Second Opinion Games made me. It's an 8-bit character on front that shows scan lines, and of course the retro RGB logo on back, also with scan lines. So we figured we'd put this up on Teespring just for a very limited run in case anybody was interested, but I like it. I think it's pretty neat. It's got the cool scanline figure on the front, and I don't know, it's fun. So anybody interested, the link will be down below, and let's jump into the Q&As. First up, Firebrandx chimed in from last week in regards to the different NES RGB color palettes. I had remembered the palettes but forgot the names, so he wanted to remind everybody that Smooth is the name of the color palette which I was referring to that he made, and that's where he took an NTSC NES outputting composite video and compared those colors on a Sony PVM to what it would look like in RGB via the NES RGB. So his goal was to have as accurate of a color palette as that was, which makes sense. And Naked Arthur's Wave Beam is a little bit more saturated, but both Firebrandx and I agree completely in that pick whichever one your eyes like better. There definitely is no right or wrong when it comes to switching between these, and I guess even the ones that I don't like, if you like them, that's all there is to it. But those two are definitely the ones I would recommend that everybody have on their NES RGB. And whichever is your third, once again, is really up to preference. Excuse me. I like to have the, if you've never experienced what it's like to have the RGB PPU on there, that color palette's fun just to play with. But once you've gone through your favorite games, you'll probably never use it again, except for maybe like Contra or something. And you could just go through the others and see which is best. The third that I personally like to have on there is the Sony palette, because I think it favors blue a little bit more. I think I just like blue. But once again, that might have been a stupid thing to say, but there's no right or wrong answer. And Firebrandx also confirmed that yes, the $4 Altera clone USB blasters are fine for this, and it's what he uses on his NES RGB. So just to make sure I'm clear though, that $4 USB blaster is fine for color palette flashing on the NES RGB. I wouldn't give it the okay on a lot of other things. And if you have more serious projects, firmwares and things like that, especially things like the GC Video project, you'd actually require better ones, and I wouldn't even try any of the cheaper clones. So if you're looking for a really good programmer, you're really looking at minimum 50 bucks and probably more than that. I think the really good ones go up to almost 200. So, but just to confirm, NES RGB palette, $4 USB blaster is fine. And if you don't mind tinkering, it's worth it because you get to flip between all the different color palettes and program whichever one's your favorite. Next, Ghetto Bill Gates had a question about something that I think I posted on the website a while back, a do-it-yourself Famicom kit. And I hadn't ever really tried it. I figured once Analog came out with the NT Mini, I figured they'd be making plenty of them for everybody. So I didn't bother testing other solutions because, you know, for the price, $175, you know, now you're really approaching on how much it would cost to buy a NES RGB and an original NES. So, you know, I just figured people might rather have that option. And now with the Mister, you know, have something like this might just be better if you bought it that way. But it looks like some kind, maybe this is the same core that's on the Mister now. It's got VGA or RGBS output, separate audio, lots of off-the-shelf parts on this thing. And I think that's just generic controller adapters in front. I think you even need other adapters to get a, or make your own in order to get Famicom or NES controllers in there. So no, I haven't tried it out. If anybody has one, please let me know, and I'll, you know, maybe either borrow it or just do your own review, and I'll link to it. But the price is the only thing that's really killing that for me. And who knows, maybe this is an absolute amazing, perfect solution, but at $175, you know, at that point, it's like, do you just get the AVS, the retro USB AVS, which, you know, that's about as perfect as it gets, output 720p. You know, for anybody that needs flat screen use, do you just get an original NES for people that need RGB? And of course, the Mister platform supports all of those things. So I don't really know where this fits. But please, if anybody has any opinions on that, post down below. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a perfect niche for this product that I just don't even see. But nope, never had a chance to test it, and I don't really plan on it unless I happen to, be in the right place at the right time to test it. Next, Ludo was giving a progress update on his VGA distribution amp to split a RGB source. And he said it didn't work for him with a C-Sync source and a PVM as an output. So the only thing I could think of is maybe the VGA amp is requiring TTL level sync. Any kind of smart switch or smart amp will do signal detection of some kind. And maybe just a 75 ohm C-Sync source isn't high enough voltage for it to see it. So at that point, you could try using a sync stripper. If it's like a Genesis or a Super Nintendo, you could try taking the resistor out of the cable and sending more voltage to it. Just be very careful, of course, because you don't want to put that into a SCART device like the OSSC. But other than that, I think that's really where those Extron crosspoint switches shine, and definitely the G-SCARTs if you only need 2 outputs. So let me know where you go with that. Hopefully you get it working. But if not, you can definitely count on the G-SCART if you need dual outputs. Kelly Greenidge said that he has a 36-inch Sony Trinitron CRT. Hell yeah, that's an awesome choice. Out of curiosity, is it the curved tube or the flat tube type? Because I'm not sure they made any of the curved tubes with component inputs. But anyway, he said he was looking for a male-to-male component video cable that he could use for his component switch and go to the CRT. Now the cable that you linked to, the Amazon Basics cable, is all right, but this is really where I think the money is worth spending, and I agree with everybody else who chimed in about buying the HD Retrovision cables, because these are the same exact cables that were used on all of their products, which did things like pass 1080p testing, when even Sony's own PS3 cable didn't pass 1080p testing. Now that's a bit of an extreme example. I don't think you're going to run 1080p through component, and you're certainly not going to run 1080p into your 36-inch Sony. But the point is, these things are so well built, well shielded, that a 6-foot cable, and you could even use their extension cable for another 6 feet, although the shorter the better, so try not to. This is the type of situation where you would see a difference, most likely, especially with component video and a good quality CRT over, the cheaper Amazon Basics cable. So, I always try to recommend the most cost-effective solution, and sometimes that's not the cheapest solution, because if you buy those Amazon ones and then by the time you get around to installing them, it's past the return period, and then you get some noise on them, you've just lost all the money, and that's, that happens to me all the time. I'll buy stuff for a project and go, all right, I'll get to that next week, and 2 months later I pick up whatever it was that I bought, and it turns out it's the wrong thing, it doesn't work, whatever it is. So I would recommend just kind of spending money where it matters in situations like this. Get a good component switch whenever the 8x2 G-Comp comes out. That's going to be great. That's even recommended and supported by Steve from HD Retrovision, and he's about as picky as they get. So, when a situation where you have the ability to have great quality picture to your TV, I'd spend the money and get the best of everything you could within reason. It would be my guess, although I haven't done a side-by-side comparison, that those $100 and something cables that Monster used to sell are probably going to be the same, if not as good as the HD Retrovisions. So you don't have to spend a lot of money, but I would spend it in the right places, and the cables and the switch are definitely it for this stuff. Next, Alea confirmed that the goal wasn't to find Saturn video input DINs, but it was to find the actual controller inputs so that he could make adapters to use a fighting stick on other consoles. So I've heard people make this request before, and I don't remember if anybody had a solid source. I would try AliExpress because there's a lot of things there that use the Saturn plugs. Even that CMVS uses them. But I would also look into something like a MC Cthulhu board, or I guess a Brook Retro, but those are a lot more expensive. And that would allow you to do something like take whatever your favorite fight stick is. Maybe it's the Saturn one, maybe it's any of the ones that you like, and you could rewire everything. So it's not hard, it's just really time consuming. It's one of these things where you might want to put on a long couple of podcasts and sit there and resolder the whole thing. But if you do that, you could make custom cables where one end is RJ45, the same as a network jack, and the other end is many consoles. So you actually could get Saturn, Dreamcast, and Nintendo, and I don't think you could do Genesis, but you could wire a second controller in there too. Ben from iFix Retro wired mine up like that for me. So, you know, I guess if you're really looking to do specifically that, I would try AliExpress, but I would just step back for a second and say, what's the easiest way to accomplish what you're looking for? Because maybe that is the perfect way for you, or maybe just doing an MC Cthulhu-based system would be a better option. And of course, you could just try Googling for any kind of controller adapter. Maybe something like that already exists. I just don't know of any off the top of my head. And did I get the name right this time? Thanks. Lars Olschlager was following up again on the Luva 100 Hertz chassis, and he said that he knew about the shortcomings of 240p. His seems to be fine, but the problem is that if he switches between different test patterns, blue is blurry. Do I have any clue what could be the problem? It could be the adjustment of the electron guns inside of it. You could try using conversion strips, but if it's something where it's you know, really sharp in the center but really blurry on the ends, then yeah, that conversion strips should be able to help. But if it's blurry all the way through, you know, that's where you're getting into some serious CRT repair. And I would try to find other people with the same TV that had the problem, and it might not be feasible to repair it. And in fact, that might be a scenario where you would want to use a rejuvenator. Just understand that there's probably a 50% chance that when you're done, blue will be completely blown out. Just once again, in my opinion, if you're getting a blurry enough signal so it's almost unusable, so that means the TV is almost garbage anyway, so maybe this would be the perfect time to use a CRT rejuvenator. And if it helps, great, now you got a free fix for a TV. And it definitely will shorten the lifespan, but having a nice big CRT that lasts another 2 years versus something that's blurry and almost unusable now, my personal opinion, I'd take it. So hopefully I could sort of point you more in the right direction, but I don't know a specific fix for that one. Sorry. Next, Chris from Belgium chimed in to talk about Final Fantasy VI Man's Super CIC board. Last week the question was, what's the difference between that and the one that Video Game Perfection sells? And while they're both good boards, they both work perfect, it seems like the only real difference is that the Final Fantasy VI Man board is designed to make it a little easier to solder and adds in-game reset. So I guess both are fine, just choose or decide based on whether you need in-game reset or not, which seems pretty easy. So, and thanks for the suggestion on how to pronounce his name. That's still a really long name though, Final Fantasy VI Man. Oh well. Well, that's it for this week's Q&A. Some of these go pretty long, some of them go short. I'm totally cool with whatever. I'm just glad I get to do them. I think it's a lot of fun for me and a very small way of trying to say thank you to everybody who supports both the channel, the podcast, and everything else. I'm also trying to do other things. I wanted to do like subscriber-only t-shirts just for fun, but the Teespring doesn't allow for private listings or unlisted listings, so I figured I would just show this on this one, and by the time the video goes live to the public, that listing will be over, so maybe this will just be a fun inside joke that you wear or something, I don't know, however you want to call it. But I'm certainly not trying to be, trying to make money off of t-shirts. I just think it'd be a fun thing for anybody who cares. But if you're new to the Q&As and you're not quite sure how it all works, this is a subscriber-only thing that I like to do. I do make these videos public about a month after they air, just kind of as a courtesy for those people that want something nerdy to listen to. But this really is a subscriber, supporter, whatever you want to call it, focused thing. So the comments are always off on the YouTube videos, and all comments and questions should be fielded here. And by here, I mean wherever it is that you found this video. So Bitpacker, Subscribestar, Patreon, the YouTube thing, which I think I was just approved for. I think they said it was approved one other time too, so who knows. But point is, wherever you found this video, comment, and that's where your question would be for next week. There's no feasible way for me to go into the previous weeks, so if I missed your question or if I got the answer wrong, please feel free to ask again, and I'll try to get to it the following week. But either way, thank you so much for all of your support. None of these things, none of the behind-the-scenes work, none of the projects that get pushed through, none of it would happen without all of your support. So thank you so much, and I'll see everybody next week.